Dear Presidents, dear laureates, dear colleagues, distinguished guests, Europe was not handed to us. It was built, treaty by treaty, crisis by crisis, by women and men who refused to accept that the devastation of the 20th century was all our continent could ever be, who looked at the ruins of war and saw not an ending, but an obligation to rebuild stronger, better, who chose solidarity over suspicion and the long arc of cooperation over the short temptation of self-interest. That is the Europe that we have inherited, and it remains the greatest political achievement in human history. Today, in this European Parliament, we gather to say thank you, to recognize the remarkable women and men who have given so much of themselves to shape this union. I want to thank the leaders and speakers who put forward nominations, as well as the selection committee for the care and the rigor that they brought to their work. With the European Order of Merit, we honor those who chose to build Europe across every walk of life, those who, when it was difficult and when the outcome was uncertain, chose to lead, those who made decisions whose consequences they might never see, knowing only that they were the right ones for our people and for our union. And we honor those who champion European values in parliaments or summits and in surgeries and on sporting fields, in newsrooms and in courtrooms, in laboratories and in concert halls, in the quiet dignity of a life giving over to someone beyond oneself. Some may not have thought of themselves as European builders. Perhaps they were simply following a passion, pursuing an ideal, defending a principle. But that is how Europe has always worked, through countless small acts of people who, each in their own way, kept our union moving forward. I am proud that ours is a continent on the rise, proud of what our flag and what this House represents to Europeans and to so many around the globe. We see it when people who rise against autocracy reach for our European flag, when families think about the life they want, the future they want for their children, the dignity they want in old age. The answer is Europe, the fairest place to work, the safest place to raise a family, the superpower of rights, of liberty, and of democracy we know it to be. But none of this endures on its own. It endures because people choose to defend it, generation after generation. So to the next generation, and to all those who will carry this project forward, the baton is yours to take up, to dare to dream of something bigger, and to find the courage to make it happen. Because, as these laureates have shown, every time someone shows up, every time someone stands up, our Europe is made stronger.
The European Union isn't just a place. It's something we believe. It's something we do. It's something we live. It began 76 years ago with an act of courage that became a collective vision, the manifestation of the improbable hope that emerged from the ashes of war.
La séance constitutive du Parlement européen.
Piece by piece, step by step, the choice was made again and again.
No barriers between themselves.
Carried on by people who kept showing up, who kept standing up, who understood that whatever our differences, together we are all better off. Even when hope ran low. Even when everything was under threat. It kept going because someone kept believing. Someone chose to step forward. And someone still does. In a kitchen, in a school, in a hospital, in a courtroom, wherever someone chooses to act, Europe is being rebuilt, renewed, stronger. That's why being an unfinished project is a mark of shared pride. We want to show our gratitude to these people, but that's not the only reason we recognize them today. Because, in the end, why do we honor acts of courage and inspiration? So they can begin again in someone else.
Recalling the decision of the Selection Committee of the European Order of Merit of 2nd March 2026 on appointments to the European Order of Merit, we will now proceed with the conferral of the distinctions to the members of the Order. Mr. Guidara, please rise to be admitted member of the European Order of Merit.
Pour le renforcement des capacités juridiques,
for the strengthening of legal capacities, institutional and administrative strength, and having supported the accession and participation of Croatia effectively into the European Union, and for your role in creating the University Passerelle, which is a long-standing administrative cooperation between Croatia and France, amongst others, and for your legal expertise and European administrative expertise.
Madame la Présidente du
President of the European Parliament, President of the European Commission, ladies and gentlemen, members of the European Parliament, I would like to start by greeting this distinguished Parliament, to whom I owe the exceptional privilege of being welcomed a parliament which symbolises and exemplifies European democracy. It is your august institution which recently decided to establish the European Order of Merit. This is awarded to people who, in one way or another, have helped to promote European integration and European values. Of course, I'd like to start by thanking the members of the selection committee and its president, Roberta Metsola, for deeming me worthy of receiving the European Order of Merit by presenting my candidacy. The candidacy was presented by the head of government and the speaker from the Croatian parliament. This is my country of origin, and in my modest way, I wanted to help it in its path towards the European Union. And over the past few decades, I sought to place at the service of my adopted homeland the knowledge and professional experience throughout my career in France, my country of birth and reason. This duality has helped make me a convinced European who respects different identities. It's a great honour for me to have been selected alongside eminent personalities who have received this great honour with everything that it represents. To conclude, I would like to reiterate my gratitude to all of the people to whom I can be grateful for this award, with my family as well, who I was keen to include in this event, which will forever remain etched in our memories. Thank you.
Sandra Leinese, please rise to be admitted member of the European Order of Merit.
Szanowni Państwo.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the 30 years of participation in helping in the medical service in Latvia and the health services in Latvia, and upholding European standards of health, and for supporting cooperation amongst health services and scientific research, and being a symbol of European solidarity and innovation in healthcare.
Highly esteemed Madam President of the European Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, to be admitted to the Order of Merit as one of among the first 20 nominees, it is a great honor and deeply personal experience to me. I was born at the time when my country lived under Russia's occupation regime. Latvia, as an independent state, lived only in the memories of my grandparents' generation. However, it was spoken about it in my family. And when 36 years ago Latvia regained its independence, it was like a dream come true. However, it meant also a work creating the state and developing it up to the level allowing it to become a member state of the European Union. People could do this by becoming involved in political parties and processes, but there was also another way to doing it, by achieving excellence in one's profession, thus reinforcing the shared European values. I am being honored today as a physician in the specialty of hematology, a professor who taught many generations of students, as a scientist and academician. The European Union has provided numerous cooperation exchange programs for students. Currently, we are working together to implement Council meeting plan. I perceive the award not only an appreciation of my work, but also as an appreciation of my colleagues, physicians and nurses at Riga East University Hospital, my colleagues in the Riga Studying University and the Latvian Academy of Science. My special gratitude goes to my family, who has always supported me, my parents, my husband, my daughter Aya, my sister and her family, and to my friends. Thank you for this high recognition. My heartfelt thanks. Thank you.
Alexandra Matvichuk, please rise to be admitted member of the European Order of Merit.
Pour sa direction du Centre pour les libertés civiles, qui
The center of the Direction for Civil Rights, which denounces war crimes in countries such as Ukraine perpetrated by Russia, for her commitment to establishing a dialogue with international institutions, for her constant commitment in favor of the promotion and the defense of human rights, and for creating a civil movement, creating legal assistance to the victims, and also surveying all the crimes which have been committed in Ukraine.
Thank you very much for this high recognition. It's an honor for me to address this distinguished audience. I would like to say just three things. First, I'm from Ukraine. For 3 centuries, we were in shadow of Russian Empire. And I'm here to say, Europe, we are back. We are returning home to European value dimension. We are paying the highest price for this. Second, Putin started large-scale war, not just to occupy one more part of Ukrainian land. He sees Ukraine as a bridge to Europe. His logic is historical. And that is why people in other European countries, they are safe only because Ukrainians are still resisting and don't let Russian army to move further. And that is why Ukraine is an integral part of European security. And third, the global storm is approaching. The world order based on UN Charter and international law has collapsed. These dramatic times test all of us. And Europe is less about geography, but more about values. Europe must defend freedom and democracy, because only readiness to defend our values defines the society that has a future. Slava Ukraini!
Viviane Reding, please rise to be admitted member of the European Order of Merit.
And her contribution to EU roaming fees being repealed across Europe. She was also Vice President of the European Commission and helped strengthen the area for justice and freedom in the European Union and judicial cooperation. She also participated in helping education and culture progress across Europe and student mobility as well through Erasmus. She also bolstered the key media and culture programs in the European Union.
Presidents, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply moved to receive this important award for helping to build a Europe for citizens. Thank you, President Barroso, for your laudatio. How did I come there? Well, I was influenced by my home country, Luxembourg, which was instrumental for creating the Schengen area and the Union without borders. I was influenced by Prime Minister Pierre Werner, the initiator of our common currency, the euro. And I was influenced by the European Parliament, when in the 1990s, I was president of the Petitions Committee, receiving plenty of complaints of citizens pointing to the free movement obstacles for citizens, for students, for workers, for retirees, for binational couples, you name it, you get it, they all had problems. And so I decided to use my political capacity in order to get rid of those obstacles. Because Europe is more than a common market. It is a space of freedom, of rule of law, and of well-being for its citizens. And the European Union is the best that could have happened to our continent. I am happy and proud to be a European. Es ist froh und hoffentlich, ein Europäer zu sein.
Three further laureates appointed as members of the European Order of Merit could not be with us today. Their distinction will be conferred at a later date. Today, we recognize their invaluable contributions to the European Union.
José Ramón Andrés Puerta.
José Ramón Andrés Puerta from the World Central Kitchen Foundation and his use of gastronomy as a vital aid for those communities who are in need. and for the role that he has played in humanitarian assistance across humanitarian crises across the world, and for promoting the principle of solidarity and compassion. Yannis Antetokounmpo, for his commitment to give worldwide recognition of European excellence in the world of sport, and for strengthening European culture thanks to his success as a basketball player, and for his support of the European values of equality, inclusion, and promoting opportunities for young people and spreading awareness of mental health through sport. And Bono, together with The Edge, Adam Clayton and Larry Mullen Jr., for their unique combination of cultural excellence and social commitment, which we see in Europe using what they do as a creative force, and for their community of shared values, for promoting peace, freedom and solidarity, for promoting a shared European identity through their music and their humanitarian action.
We will now proceed with the conferral of the distinctions to the honorable members of the order. Jerzy Buzek, please rise to be admitted a honorable member of the European Order of Merit.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the efforts as your role of Prime Minister for integration of Poland into the European Union and NATO, for being the leader of European integration as the President of the European Parliament, and leading to the creation of, from the period of the Nice Treaty to the Lisbon Treaty, for your efforts to help reform and strengthen the European Parliament.
Dear friends, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back to the European Parliament and I feel very happy. If I could change to my mother tongue, it would be much easier for me. Sorry about that, but still our languages are something what we love very, very much. 20 few of them. So, let me start. Drogie President.
Dear Presidents, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, this is a great honour for me, and I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to the Selection Committee and, in particular, President Roberta Metsola. I view this distinction as a tribute, a recognition of the European Parliament and to all of us, our work that we've done together. And it's thanks to you that I spent 2 decades here. So thank you very much. Thinking ahead to the future, I think we have to say clearly the world that we lived in, benefiting from the peace dividend, cheap gas, safe trading with China, and where the United States were there to defend us, well, that world no longer exists. And given these circumstances, we have to rethink and strengthen the extraordinary project that is our European Union. As Robert Schuman said, Europe has always been a project, a dream, a game of imagination. It was a similar situation in Poland 45 years ago at the first Solidarity Congress that I had the honour to lead. Then we had a dream of a free, sovereign, democratic Poland. And that dream, thanks to millions of people and the great leadership of Lech Wałęsa, came true. Olga Tokarczuk, a Nobel laureate, in her acceptance speech, said that which is imagined is the first form of existence. And I think the same goes for the European Union. For years, we have been laying the foundations of the European Union on which today we can create and build up a new reality, build up resistance, whether it be military, energy, or economic resilience. But we also have to support, as far as we can, Ukraine. I think our citizens have to see that the Union can provide security, jobs and prosperity for them, and they have to believe in Europe. And Europe has always been strong when it has been able to imagine a better future for itself and to build it together in solidarity. So let us be brave and dream and act responsibly. Thank you very much.
Aníbal Cavaco Silva, please rise to be admitted an honourable member of the European Order of Merit.
Pela sua liderança como primeiro-ministro e
Thank you for his leadership as Prime Minister and as President in the first decades that Portugal was in the European Union, for his contribution to the negotiations for the Single European Act, the Maastricht Treaty and the Lisbon Treaty, for his democratic legitimacy in the European project and for his contribution to a more united and stronger Europe.
Senhora Presidente,
President of the European Parliament, President of the European Commission, members of the European Parliament. The creation of the European Order of Merit reflects the success of the integration project that started in 1957, and it shows trust in the future of a union which defends the values of peace, freedom, democracy, and respect for human rights, and which includes among its objectives solidarity between member states. The founding fathers, Robert Schuman, Jean Monnet, and others, laid surprisingly robust foundations on which European leaders have built a unique construction globally based on common interests and values and shared sovereignty. At a time of significant instability and uncertainty across the world, armed conflicts and threats, in which each country's voice does not count for much in isolation, the European Union is an extremely important asset for all member states. Portugal has been an active member defending European values and the deepening of the integration process, always seeking to put specific national interests within the framework of the community's interest. Jacques Delors, who was one of the most brilliant pro-Europeans that I ever met, stated that Portugal was active in European integration as if it were one of the founding countries. As Prime Minister, I had the privilege to experience enthusiastically the first decade of Portugal in the European Union and the giant steps that were taken at that time to deepen integration. As President of the Republic, I followed very closely the debate on reforms in the European Union after the international financial crisis in 2008. Today, I feel particularly honoured and moved to be part of the first group of laureates who are receiving the European Order of Merit. I would like to congratulate everybody else for their awards. In 2012, the Nobel Peace Prize was given to the European Union, and that inspires us to show that future generations has a future in the European Union.
Your Eminence, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, please rise to be admitted a honourable member of the European Order of Merit.
Eminence.
Your Eminence, for your work in promoting peace, dialogue, and social justice as a Cardinal and as a Secretary of State of the Holy See, for promoting fundamental rights and world development, and for having contributed to world diplomacy designed to reduce conflicts and enhance understanding amongst nations, for your key role in promoting the Christian heritage of Europe, and for your commitment to the interconfessional dialogue.
Signora Presidente.
President of the European Parliament, President of the European Commission, honourable members, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me first of all to express my sincere gratitude for the illustrious award which has been conferred on me, and I consider it to be a sign of esteem, not just for myself, but in particular for the Holy See and its work in the Forum of Nations. I also wish to extend to all of you the greetings of His Holiness Pope Leo XIV. The decision taken by the European Parliament to create the European Order of Merit was taken last year in conjunction with the 75th anniversary of the Schuman Declaration of the 9th of May, 1950. And this takes our thoughts to the illustrious founding father, for whom the process of beatification is currently ongoing within the Catholic Church. In the aftermath of the tragedy of the Second World War, Schuman had the fortunate intuition, and here I quote him, "World peace cannot be safeguarded," he said, "without the making of creative efforts proportionate to the dangers which threaten it." So still today, at a time when more conflicts are breaking out, the European Union represents those creative efforts which Schuman referred to, and it has enabled the continent to live one of its longest periods of peace. Today, that peace is threatened from several quarters and in jeopardy in Europe too as a result of the war in Ukraine. It does, however, remain the fundamental premise of the European Union, and it constitutes a clear international commitment of the Holy See, which has been reiterated, in fact, on numerous occasions by His Holiness Pope Leo XIV, as of when he was elected. At the basis of our peaceful coexistence, there are values which are rooted in the Christian history of Europe, to which the founding fathers bore such eloquent testimony. Among them, there's first and foremost the affirmation of human dignity, which is inviolable and must always be protected at all phases of life. In accepting with joy this award, allow me to reiterate the availability of the Holy See to work with the European institutions to promote the dignity of all human beings and to build peace together to the greater benefit of our Europe and indeed the entire world. Thank you.
Your Excellency President Maya Sandu, please rise to be admitted an honorable member of the European Order of Merit.
For her commitment to guide her country on the European path and to promote integration of her country into the European Union, for her strengthening of democratic governance, of transparency, of rule of law as President of the Republic of Moldova, for strengthening resilience of Moldova in the face of hybrid threats, in the face of disinformation and attempts to destabilize her country, thus working towards a safer and more democratic Europe. Thank you.
President Metsola, President von der Leyen, distinguished laureates, honorable members of the European Parliament, thank you for the honor of the European Order of Merit. Receiving it alongside leaders who have shaped this continent and in this House built on the idea that Europeans are stronger together is humbling. But if merit is the measure, this distinction belongs to the Moldovan people. They are the ones who earned it. For 3 decades, Moldovans have been building their European future, overcoming a difficult economic transition, taking to the streets when democracy was in danger, pushing back when oligarchs tried to capture the state, and voting for Europe again and again in face of Russian threats and blackmail. That is merit. Thank you very much. It is the merit of the civil servants working relentlessly to align every sphere of public life to European standards. The journalists who, despite hardship, have earned Moldova its place among the countries with a free press. The policymakers and engineers who broke our energy dependency on Russia and connected us to Europe in less than 4 years. The businesses that over the past decade made a dramatic shift towards Europe so that today 2/3 of our trade is with the European Union. The judges and prosecutors who choose to be brave. The police officers dismantling the networks that destabilize Moldova and threaten neighboring countries. The teachers, the doctors, the people who stayed, and those abroad who remain invested in Moldova's future. All those who build, who believe. That is the merit. We do all this while living next door to Russia's brutal war, while Kremlin missiles and drones violate our airspace, pollute our waters, and damage our energy infrastructure. Moldovans do not yield. That is the merit. So my plea to you, to EU institutions and member states, is simple. Reward this merit. Let Moldova move forward in its European journey. Thank you.
Wolfgang Schüssel, please rise to be admitted a honorable member of the European Order of Merit.
For his leading role in Austria's accession to the European Union, for advancing enlargement as Federal Chancellor, and for supporting the integration of new member states in the European project, for championing the European perspective in the Western Balkans, and for his continued commitment to a stronger, more united, and more sovereign Europe.
President Roberta Metsola, President Ursula von der Leyen, honourable members and fellow laureates. I would like to start off by thanking you for this great honour, which I have not deserved alone. there are one or two other people in Austria who I think have deserved this award, Mr. Znitsky, Alex Moss, and Mr. Buzek, others as well. But anyway, I'm here and I'm very happy to be here. I think there are a couple of thoughts perhaps that I would like to share with you. The first of these is that we are living through a very difficult time of war, and I think we need more now than just managing and administering the status quo. Anything can be turned into a weapon, energy, financial transactions, and I think the time has come for us perhaps to go back to one of the founding ideas of the European Union, even before the economic union, and that is the creation of a European defence community. That was the first idea, and I think today it's more important than ever. And I think this is something that we really ought to bear in mind. Strengthen cooperation, for example, with the start of the new countries, and I'm very convinced that we have our Schengen area, the Euro area, and I think we could bring countries together for this other idea. So let's start. I was born in 1945 in Vienna, which was half destroyed, and hardly anybody, my parents, anybody in Europe, I think the dream of everybody was peace, freedom and security. And this is a dream that continues to survive in Hungary, in Prague, in Poland, with the Solidarność movement, 1989, then with the fall of the Iron Curtain and the Berlin Wall. And then, of course, the people in the Balkans. All of these people have continued to share this dream, which led to the fall of Yugoslavia. And now we see the Ukrainians fighting with their lives for this dream, security, freedom, and prosperity. And I do believe that in Europe, we must try and revive this dream. We have the 4 freedoms, which lie at the heart of the European project. And I think it's a bit like the fairy story of Sleeping Beauty. We have this forest of thorns and we have to keep hacking away at it. And I really do believe that we ought to try and get through this thorny hedge and try and allow the idea of freedom, try and revive this. And we aren't alone. There are 450 million, 200 million people living in countries that are candidate countries who wish to become members of the European Union. If we were just to take those countries where we have free trade agreements or that we're negotiating with, another 200 million. So we are not alone. So this dream of freedom, prosperity, the rule of law, security, this is a dream shared by very many people around the world. And I think we in Europe have to come together. And if we can do this right across the limits of political parties and countries, then I think I can be quite optimistic when it comes to the future of Europe. Thank you.
Javier Solana, please rise to be admitted the Honourable Member of the European Order of Merit.
For strengthening the role of the European Union in the international arena when it comes to defence and diplomacy, and also for fulfilling the post as High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, for making a contribution to the security of the European Union when he was Secretary General of NATO, for his commitment for promoting peace and finding solutions to various conflicts in Africa, the Balkans, Eastern Europe, and also in the Middle East.
vais a permitir que hable en mi lengua.
If you will allow, I'd like to speak my own language in order to express my emotions. I must say this was a great satisfaction when I heard that you were conferring this distinction upon me. We are living through very difficult times. And quite frankly, I think I would say that I never believed that a moment would come along when international relations would be as they are today, that we're experiencing today. And I think at this current moment today, the European Union is more necessary than ever. I do recall in the 10 years that I was High Representative for the European Union, just how the European Union participated in negotiations between Palestine and Israel. I was at the table. And I can also recall how the European Union started off negotiations with Iran, and I was at the table. And I do believe that the European Union is going to have to regain the role that we had years ago. And we must make sure that we do not relinquish that role. We have to continue to be active participants in peace and participate in peace missions. I also recall that in the toughest moments of the battle between Palestine and Israel, the European Union maintained the Rafah crossing, between the Gaza Strip and Egypt. And we did this with European Union military forces and police officers from the European Union, and we were there. And I would also like to recall those wonderful years, extraordinary years for me anyway, I think the happiest years of my political life. And very briefly, go back to something I said at the beginning. The world needs Europe more than ever. I'm Spanish, but I am European.
Jean-Claude Trichet, please rise to be admitted a honorable member of the European Order of Merit.
Pour sa contribution décisive.
For his decisive contribution to the introduction of the euro, for the driving force role he played during the economic and financial crisis, contributing to preserving the credibility and stability of the single currency as president of the European Central Bank, for the role which he played in strengthening confidence in the European project, and for illustrating that Europe is formed by the solutions it manages to find in times of crisis.
Je vais moi aussi m'exprimer.
I too would like to speak my own language, if you don't mind. President of the European Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Selection Committee, and honourable members, I am very moved every time I appear before the Parliament in its entirety. And it happened to me at least 8 times during my term of office. So thank you so much to the European Parliament for conferring this honour to me. And through me, it is bestowed on all the staff members of the European Central Bank ever since it was created. I've always found the European Parliament, before which I spoke more than 40 times, I've always found it to be deeply committed to defending the integrity of the Union, particularly during the major economic and financial crisis, which went from 2007 to 2011. It was this moral and political support from Parliament, the determination of all states and European institutions, and the bold action of the ECB, I believe. All of this ensure that no country leave the Eurozone, despite the speculative attacks against Greece, Ireland and Portugal in 2010, and then against Spain and Italy in 2011. But what is even more remarkable is that not only did no country leave the Eurozone, but during my term, in the middle of a global crisis, I was able to welcome 5 new countries: Slovenia in 2007, Malta and Cyprus in 2008, Slovakia in 2009, and Estonia in 2011. In the middle of the European sovereign debt crisis, they will join the Eurozone. 5 countries in a crisis successfully weathered the storm, and 5 new countries joined the Eurozone during the most difficult period since the Second World War for Europe and indeed the world. What an illustration of Europe's historical dynamic spirit. When I was appointed in 2003, there were 12 of us. There were 17 of us at the end of my term in 2011. Now, the euro is the federal currency of 21 countries. During the crisis, the ECB recognized the need to be audacious. Indeed, I suggested that there be a Eurozone finance minister and that the European Parliament should have the last word in cases of disagreement between a country and the European institutions, the Commission and the Council. And I described that at the time as strengthening the executive and legislative powers in the event of a crisis within the Eurozone, as the activation of a federation in exceptional circumstances. So it already appeared necessary at the time that Europe be brought towards a true federation. And it's even more evident today. We've heard this today. Wolfgang, Javier, amongst others, have stressed the need to do this. But I think many others share these sentiments. We do have to go further. And the division of the single market into national silos, side by side, that is what the glass ceiling of the Eurozone economy is. This is what Mario Draghi and Enrico Letta have emphasized. These recommendations must be followed. This glass ceiling would disappear with the establishment of a true federal single market. Now, apart from the economy, today's geostrategic challenges are such that Europe must go much further in the areas of diplomacy, defence, and a genuine federal political union. This has just been said. A single European Parliament, a single Commission, obviously, a single Council, obviously, but also we need single defence, a single diplomacy, and a single executive branch in the areas of responsibility of the future European Federation. This is what I believe Europe must achieve over the 21st century if it is to ensure the prosperity of its people, defend its values of democracy and freedom, and exercise its legitimate and peaceful influence in the world. Thank you for your attention.
Three further laureates appointed as honorable members of the European Order of Merit could not be with us today. Their distinction will be conferred at a later date. Today, we recognize their invaluable contributions to the European Union.
Valdas Adamkus, for his leadership as President of the Republic of Lithuania and for his pivotal role in advancing Lithuania's accession to the European Union, for championing European values, democracy, and peace. Sauli Niinisto, for his leadership as President of the Republic of Finland and Speaker of the Parliament of Finland, for promoting European unity, preparedness, and a comprehensive approach to security and defence, for his diplomatic skill in guiding Finland into NATO, and for contributing to the development of the European Economic and Monetary Union. Mary Robinson, for her leadership as President of Ireland in advancing equality, justice and human rights, for her commitment to vulnerable communities and to a more just and sustainable world, including in her role as United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights.
We will now proceed with the conferral of the distinctions to the distinguished members of the Order. His Excellency President Volodymyr Zelensky could not be with us today. His distinction as Distinguished Member of the European Order of Merit will be conferred at a later date. Today, we recognize his invaluable contributions to the European Union.
For his leadership as President of Ukraine and for standing in the face of Russia's legal war of aggression, for embodying courage, resistance, and European unity at a moment of profound challenge for the continent, for strengthening European security and defending democracy and shared European values. Vive l'Ukraine et vive le peuple ukrainien.
Lech Wałęsa, please rise to be admitted a distinguished member of the European Order of Merit.
For his decisive role in the peaceful end to the communist government in Poland as the leader of Solidarność, Solidarity, and for his commitment to supporting European values and realizing the vision of a united, free and peaceful Europe, for his contribution to the democratic foundations and the rule of law as the first directly elected President of Poland, as well as preparing the country for integration into the European Union and NATO. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this great honor. But I am accepting this as a recognition for the efforts and the fight of solidarity which I led. I must say what I would very much like to see is that the European Union and successive generations of its form were successful. And obviously, I've always wanted to make a contribution to this. Sometimes it was more difficult, it didn't go so well, but I've always wanted to say that if there are problems, you have to tackle them pragmatically and practically. And I think the fight at the time looked a little different. We said, well, either it works or it doesn't. And at the time, we believed that there were three elements of organising the world had got to the end of their possibilities. First element was communism. Communism, perhaps you could tolerate it, but at the time we could see that it was halting the development of the world. Another element that we noted at the time was that if you're trying to organize the world after the Second World War, you had these different areas and borders, and perhaps the structure we had didn't fit in with the times. It was also putting a brake on development of the world, and so we had to sort that out. And the third element at the time, obviously the world was divided into two poles. We had the Soviets in one camp and the Americans in another. It was a very unsecure, dangerous world. In theory, a lot of people realized this, but the Soviets were preparing for nuclear war. And I don't know whether you can remember just how many nuclear silos there were at the time. And everybody was wondering why it was that they didn't start this nuclear war. And I think it was quite simple. Brezhnev fell ill. He became ill. And everything depended on the first secretary. Then Brezhnev died, and we had his successors. And each of these people, each of the successors brought their own people into the government, which of course led to destabilization of the situation. A Pole became Pope. And there was a gap, if you will, which allowed Solidarność, solidarity, to move in to fill that gap. And at the time, we felt we could be successful. The solidarity, an agreement, a political agreement on paper, it was a successful, but in practical terms, it wasn't. So after several years of difficult fight during martial war, then there was a lot of support for solidarity, of course. The communists obviously fought us. And then the suggestion was to try and bring us into power. And from the million we were, then we grew into far more. But the communists had their plan to try and end solidarity. So we had this battle that we had to fight in practical terms. We had to convince the West that Poland should come into the European Union. And obviously we indicated that there wouldn't be any problem for this, that we would obviously prepare ourselves for this. And then there was another element. We had to, as I said, persuade the West that this is what we wanted. And then there was a meeting in the great city of Prague. Václav Havel invited us along to this meeting. And this was a seal on the success of solidarity. And then Bill Clinton supported us. And he helped with the path to becoming members of NATO. Clinton helped us, otherwise it wouldn't have been possible. And so the situation was similar to that in Ukraine. And we had a good treaty. We had all sorts of guarantees. And how did all of this end? Well, if we had not been practitioners, if we had not had practical guarantees to allow solidarity to be successful, well, what would have happened? Why did we do all of this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, the world at the time had reached the limits of certain of its possibilities of organisation. We helped bring down a system at the time, but of course then you have to build up another system. And from here, I think we need proposals, new proposals for Europe as how to organise the world. We have these new technologies, and if we take a look at what's happening around the world, there are three main powers, main countries, and we've got Russia, China, and the United States who are trying to steer the course of how the world develops. If Russia manages to rule Ukraine, then obviously that is going to determine the course of how the world goes, and we have to prevent this. So I think we have to look at the practical development of the world and face up to the challenges we're facing when it comes to the way in which the world evolves. But we have to look at what's happening around the world practically, in practical terms. The world has to be organised practically, and this was what lay behind the movement of solidarity. At the time, nobody really believed this. So what we have to do now is persuade each other what we have to do. So we have to discuss, persuade each other just what the world should look like, how it should be organised. And we have to make sure that we take the right decision, and help the way in which the world develops. If we can't do this, then we will end like other civilizations that used to exist previously.
Angela Merkel, please rise to be admitted a distinguished member of the European Order of Merit.
For her steady and principled leadership in the advancement of the European Union as Germany's federal chancellor for over 16 years, for the decisive role she played in the adoption of the Treaty of Lisbon, and for her unwavering commitment to European integration and shared values, for bridging Europe's East and West, and for strengthening Europe's stability and cohesion.
Dear Presidents, jury, members of the European Parliament, I'd firstly like to thank you for coming up with the wonderful idea, 75 years after Schumann's declaration, to confer this award on people who have contributed to this wonderful mosaic of the European Union. I think I'm speaking on behalf of everybody here, that we know that we are the ones who have been selected, but there are many more people in Europe who do this work. I think this idea was so good because we are living through times where everything seems to be changing. We are seeing certainties being broken, and it's good, therefore, to remember that despite all these changes, there are some things that are constant in the work for this European Union, and There are three promises to people in our member states, and the first was peace. And at the beginning, that was not something to be taken for granted. Then it became normal, and then there was the barbaric attack of Russia on Ukraine. And we've now seen that it cannot no longer be taken for granted, and it is fragile. And the new security doctrine of the United States shows that we cannot have that certainty we had before. And then sometimes we go back to the defence union of the European Union, which didn't work at the beginning. But this promise for peace will remain. The second promise is also under pressure, and that is for prosperity, a promise of prosperity for our citizens. And if you go back to 2000, when in Lisbon the heads of government stated that Europe should be the strongest and most science-based continent in the world. And we are far from that goal, and there's a lot of work that you have to do in order to get closer to that promise. We want to see economic prosperity, but if we don't have that, we won't be able to protect the climate, we won't be able to ensure biodiversity. This means that sustainability and economic success are prerequisites for European citizens seeing Europe as an added value. And this is why it was so important that Mario Draghi, in his competition report, stressed where the potential in Europe lies. And I am sure that you will manage to work on this both here in Parliament and the Commission and the European Council, of course. And the third promise is that of democracy, human dignity, human rights, the dignity of every single person, minority rights, and multilateral cooperation in the world. There's no freedom without democracy, and democracy is also under pressure. And one area where the European Union is a pioneer is the development of social media. This is where truth can be told as lies, and lies can be told as truth. And this is jeopardizing information across Europe. And then this is being increased by the development of artificial intelligence. So I can only encourage you to continue regulating the social media, what is supposed to be social media, and also on artificial intelligence. Perhaps mistakes will be made, but we learn through mistakes. But to believe that responsibility for spreading information is no longer necessary, that there should be no accountability for lies, then that would undermine democracy. And as democracy is the third promise, we need to focus on that. So these are my requests to those in responsibility now. We've had 75 years of European thought, peace, prosperity and democracy. Thank you.
Presidents, ministers, laureates, members of the selection committee, members of the European Parliament and European Commission, ambassadors and esteemed guests, please stand to listen to the European anthem. Before we close this ceremony, we'll now proceed with a family picture.